There's a moment every watch collector knows. Not when you first see the watch, not even when you try it on. It's that quiet moment when you ask yourself, will it still matter to me 5 years from now? Because true collecting isn't about chasing trends. It's about timing, patience, and seeing value before the world realizes it. In 2026, the watch market is changing again. Some brands are reaching their peak. Others are quietly positioning their next legends. Today, I'm going to share the watches I really want to buy in 2026. This is not a sponsored video. This is not a theory. These are the watches I trust, financially, mechanically, and emotionally. If you love watches not just for the logo, if you think long-term instead of chasing short-term trends, remember to like this video, share it with other collectors, and subscribe to the channel, because this channel is for timeless watches. Now, let's start with the 10th one. Ranked 10th, Longines Spirit Zulu Time. Every serious watch journey should begin with humility. Before the icons, before the hype, before the watches people recognize across a room. For me, that starting point in 2026 is the Longines Spirit Zulu Time. This is not a watch that tries to impress you instantly. It earns respect over time. At first glance, it feels restrained, almost conservative. But that restraint is exactly what makes it powerful. Longines has survived every cycle of the watch industry by understanding one thing. Consistency matters more than noise. Priced between $3,000 and $3,500, the Zulu Time offers something increasingly rare, real value. In a market driven by inflated prices and artificial scarcity, this watch stays grounded. The stainless steel case, available around 39 to 42 millimeters, feels perfectly judged. Balanced proportions, comfortable on the wrist, and versatile enough for daily wear. Nothing feels oversized or excessive. The dial prioritizes clarity. Large Arabic numerals, applied indices, and a clean layout make it instantly legible. The GMT hand isn't decorative, it's functional, reinforcing this watch's identity as a true traveler's tool. Inside, a chronometer-certified automatic movement delivers accuracy, modern anti-magnetic protection, and a solid power reserve. It's built to be worn, not babied. What truly secures its place in 2026 is Longines' quiet resurgence. While many brands chase trends, Longines is rebuilding credibility piece by piece. The Spirit Zulu Time is already gaining recognition as one of the most complete GMT watches in its segment. It won't go viral, it won't be hyped overnight. But years from now, collectors will look back and say, that was the smart buy, and that's why it opens this list at number 10. Ranked 9th, Tudor Black Bay 54. Sometimes progress doesn't mean adding more. Sometimes it means going back and choosing better. That philosophy defines the Tudor Black Bay 54, and it's exactly why this watch earns a strong position on my 2026 list. In a market still obsessed with oversized sports watches, the Black Bay 54 quietly takes a different path. Priced around $3,700 to $4,200, it offers thoughtful design instead of spectacle. The stainless steel case is compact, well-balanced, and comfortable for all-day wear. It doesn't try to dominate the wrist or announce itself across the room. Instead, it rewards the person wearing it. At 37 millimeters, it embraces classic proportions. Yet on the wrist, it feels confident, modern, and incredibly natural. This is one of those watches that disappears while wearing it, in the best possible way. The bezel is clean and understated, reinforcing the watch's tool watch roots without leaning too heavily on nostalgia. There's no artificial aging, no forced vintage cues, just restraint. The dial is pure Tudor discipline. Matte black, crisp hour markers, and the unmistakable snowflake hands create excellent legibility. The absence of a date window keeps the design symmetrical and focused, reminding you that this watch was built with purpose, not convenience in mind. Inside beats a manufacturer automatic movement, COSC certified, reliable, and engineered for modern expectations. While the design looks back, the mechanics firmly live in the present. What makes the Black Bay 54 especially compelling in 2026 is the shift in collector mindset. Comfort, balance, and timeless proportions are starting to matter more than sheer wrist presence. And this watch sits perfectly at that intersection. It's not the loudest tutor. It's not the most hyped, but it's the one that feels right today and years from now. And that's exactly why it holds number 9. Ranked 8th, King Seiko KSK Re-Creation. At some point, every collector starts asking a different question. Not what's popular, but what actually deserves respect. That's where Seiko King Seiko enters the picture, and why the KSK Re-Creation earns its place at number 8 in 2026. This watch isn't chasing trends, it's restoring a legacy. Originally introduced in the early 1960s, King Seiko represented Seiko's pursuit of precision and refinement, standing alongside the earliest Grand Seiko efforts. The modern KSK stays disciplined and faithful, resisting the urge to over-modernize. Priced around $3,000 to $3,500, the SJE-083 sits in a rare position, accessible by luxury standards, yet serious in execution. The 38.1mm case defines the watch's character. Sharp, angular lines give it architectural presence, while the finishing remains crisp and controlled. It wears slim, elegant, and unmistakably classic. Never loud, never dated. The dial is a study in restraint. Clean, silver-toned, and balanced, it relies on proportion rather than decoration. Applied markers and razor-sharp hands provide depth without distraction. Inside is an in-house automatic movement, built for stability and long-term reliability rather than spectacle. It does exactly what this watch promises. Nothing more, nothing less. What makes the King Seiko KSK especially relevant in 2026 is timing. Collectors are beginning to rediscover Seiko beyond entry-level narratives, and King Seiko represents a chapter that was overlooked for decades. This isn't a watch you buy for recognition. It's a watch you buy because you understand history, and that's why it holds number 8. Quietly confident and quietly important. Ranked 7th, Omega Seamaster Aqua Terra. There's a point in collecting where versatility matters more than novelty. You stop asking, what's different, and start asking, what actually works every single day? That's where the Omega Seamaster Aqua Terra earns its place at number 7. Often overlooked as just another Omega, the Aqua Terra is, in reality, one of the most complete everyday watches on the market. Priced roughly between $5,000 and $6,500, it sits comfortably between luxury and practicality. It's refined enough to feel special, yet robust enough that you never hesitate to wear it. The case, typically around 41mm in this reference, is beautifully proportioned. Twisted lugs add subtle character, while the overall profile stays slim and balanced. It works just as well under a shirt cuff as it does on a casual weekend. The dial reflects Omega's quiet confidence. Horizontal teak-style lines add depth without clutter, while applied indices and sharp hands ensure excellent legibility. It's modern, clean, and designed to age gracefully. Inside beats a master chronometer certified movement, built to resist extreme magnetism and real-world wear. This is a watch designed to be lived with, not protected. What makes the Aqua Terra especially relevant in 2026 is its role in a collection. This is the watch you grab when you don't want to think, when you just want something you trust. It may not be the loudest Omega, it may not be the most hyped, but it's very likely the one you'll wear the most. And that's why it stands firmly at number 7. Not as a statement, but as a foundation. Ranked 6th. Rolex Explorer 36mm. There are watches that impress, and then there are watches that endure. The Rolex Explorer belongs firmly in the second category, and that's why it sits at number 6 on my 2026 list. This is one of the purest watches Rolex has ever made. No complications to distract you, no luxury cues trying to prove a point. Just time, exactly as it should be. Priced around $7,500 to $9,000. The Explorer may be considered an entry point into Rolex, but its value runs far deeper than its position in the lineup. The 36mm oyster case feels intentional and perfectly proportioned. As collectors move back toward classic sizing, this dimension feels timeless rather than small. It wears comfortably on almost any wrist and disappears effortlessly during daily wear. The dial is iconic for a reason: a clean black surface, the unmistakable 369 numerals, and flawless legibility in any condition. No date window, no excess text, just balance and clarity that hasn't needed redesigning for decades. Inside is a modern Rolex automatic movement built for accuracy, durability, and longevity. It's engineered to run for years with minimal attention, reinforcing what the Explorer has always stood for: reliability above all else. What makes the Explorer especially compelling in 2026 is its role in a collection. As other Rolex sports models grow louder and more expensive, the Explorer remains quietly respected, less exposed to hype, yet deeply admired by seasoned collectors. It's not a statement piece. It's not a trophy. It's a companion. And that's exactly why the Rolex Explorer earns number 6. Simple, honest, and built to last. Ranked 5th, Cartier Santos Medium. There are watches built to measure time, and then there are watches built to define it. The Cartier Santos belongs firmly in the second category, and that's why it holds a place in my top 5 for 2026. This isn't just a luxury watch. It's one of the most historically important wristwatches ever made. Originally designed for aviator Alberto Santos Dumont, the Santos was created from necessity, not fashion. That DNA still defines the modern version, especially in the medium size, which feels balanced, elegant, and effortlessly wearable. Priced roughly between $7,000 and $8,500, the Santos sits in a rare space. It doesn't try to be sporty or dressy. It simply exists as its own category. The square case is instantly recognizable. Clean geometry, exposed screws, and seamless bracelet integration give it a strong architectural identity. On the wrist, it wears flatter and more comfortably than expected, avoiding the bulk often associated with square watches. The dial is classic Cartier restraint. Roman numerals, blued hands, and a perfectly balanced layout that has stood the test of time without needing reinvention. Inside is a reliable automatic movement, but the Santos has never been about specifications. Its real value lies in design permanence. Very few watches transition this effortlessly between formal wear, casual outfits, and everyday life. What makes the Santos especially relevant in 2026 is a shift in taste. Collectors are moving away from loud statements and toward watches with identity, and the Santos has nothing to prove. It's not rare, it's not loud, it's iconic, and that's why the Cartier Santos stands confidently at number 5. A reminder that true design never needs to chase attention. Ranked 4th, Omega Speedmaster Professional Moonwatch. There are watches with history, and then there are watches that are history. That's where the Omega Speedmaster Professional earns its place at number 4. This isn't just a chronograph. It's one of the most proven mechanical watches ever made. Priced roughly between $7,000 and $8,000, the Moonwatch represents something increasingly rare in modern collecting. A true icon that remains attainable and genuinely relevant in 2026. The 42mm stainless steel case is instantly recognizable. The asymmetrical lugs, twisted lyre profile, and tachymeter bezel are design elements that haven't needed reinvention for decades. On the wrist, it wears slimmer and more balanced than the dimensions suggest, especially on the bracelet. The dial is pure function-first design. Matte black, 3 recessed subdials, crisp white printing, and excellent contrast ensure legibility in any condition. Nothing is decorative. Everything exists because it has to. This is a chronograph designed to be used, not admired from a distance. Inside beats a manual winding chronograph movement, master chronometer certified in its modern form. It's anti-magnetic, robust, and precise, while still preserving the daily winding ritual. That small habit creates a connection most modern watches have lost. But the real reason the Speedmaster belongs here isn't technical. It's narrative. This is the only watch worn on the moon, tested by NASA, trusted when failure wasn't an option. Yet despite that legendary past, the Moonwatch never feels like a museum piece. In everyday life, it fits effortlessly, whether with jeans, a jacket, or even a suit. It feels natural, familiar, and dependable. It's not fragile. It's not precious. It's not trying to be exclusive. It's a companion. And that's why the Omega Speedmaster Professional holds number 4 as the perfect bridge between everyday wearability and true horological legend. Ranked third, Vacheron Constantin Fiftysix. There's a stage of collecting where recognition stops mattering, where you no longer care if others know what's on your wrist, because you know exactly why it's there. That's the space occupied by Vacheron Constantin, and it's why the 56 earns number 3 on my 2026 list. Vacheron Constantin isn't just one of the big 3, it's the oldest continuously operating watch manufacturer in the world, and the 56 is often misunderstood. Some dismiss it as too modern for the brand, but that's precisely its strength. The 56 doesn't recreate the past. It translates heritage into something genuinely wearable today. Priced roughly between $12,000 and $15,000, it remains one of the most accessible entry points into true high horology, an increasingly rare position in today's market. The case, around 40 millimeters, blends vintage cues with modern comfort. Subtle Maltese cross-shaped lugs reference the brand's identity without turning it into a logo statement. On the wrist, it feels elegant yet relaxed. The dial balances complexity and clarity with ease. Applied Arabic numerals, layered textures, and well-integrated complications create depth without clutter. Everything feels deliberate and composed. Inside beats a beautifully finished in-house movement, visible through the caseback. Traditional decoration and Geneva Seal standards quietly separate it from most watches in this price range. But the true appeal of the 56 is philosophical. It's a watch for collectors who've moved beyond hype, who understand that restraint ages better than noise. In a market dominated by loud steel sports watches, the 56 offers something rare: dignity. It doesn't chase trends. It doesn't need to explain itself. And that's exactly why it stands at number 3. Not as a flex, but as a quiet declaration of taste. Ranked second, Patek Philippe Calatrava. There comes a moment in collecting when complication stops being impressive and simplicity becomes everything. That moment is where Patek Philippe truly begins, and why the Calatrava stands at number 2 on my 2026 list. This is not a watch designed to catch attention. It assumes understanding. The Calatrava is the purest expression of what a wristwatch should be. No rotating bezel, no sports narrative, no excess. Just time, executed with absolute restraint. Prices typically begin around $25,000 depending on configuration. And while that number is significant, the Calatrava isn't priced for features. It's priced for philosophy. The case is thin, elegant, and perfectly proportioned. In rose gold, it sits quietly on the wrist, slipping effortlessly under a cuff while still feeling substantial when noticed. Nothing about it feels forced or performative. The dial is a study in balance. Clean surfaces, refined indices, and a calm symmetry create a sense of visual silence. Every element exists for a reason, never decoration for decoration's sake. Inside beats a hand-finished mechanical movement, executed to standards few manufacturers still maintain. Traditional finishing techniques aren't highlighted here. They're simply expected. But the real power of the Calatrava is emotional. This is the watch collectors choose when they stop thinking about trends, resale charts, or validation. It's chosen for permanence, for confidence, for taste that doesn't need explanation. It doesn't advertise success. It doesn't chase relevance. It simply endures. This isn't a watch you upgrade from. It's a watch you settle into. And that's why the Patek Philippe Calatrava earns number 2. Quiet, composed, and timeless. In first place, Rolex Cosmograph Daytona. At the end of collecting, reality sets in. Not fantasy, not theory, just one honest question. Which watch would I actually keep if I could only choose one? For me, in 2026, that answer is the Rolex Cosmograph Daytona. This isn't a watch that needs explanation. It is the benchmark. Priced at $15,000 plus at retail and significantly more in reality, the Daytona is often reduced to hype and scarcity. But that misses its real strength. This is a watch people genuinely want to wear, not just own. The 40mm oyster case is nearly perfect in proportion, Robust, balanced, and instantly recognizable, it wears comfortably on a wide range of wrists. The ceramic bezel adds durability while preserving the iconic Daytona silhouette. The dial is clean, symmetrical, and remarkably legible for a chronograph. 3 subdials, perfectly spaced. Strong contrast. Nothing feels busy or accidental. Inside beats Rolex's in-house automatic chronograph movement, built for precision, reliability, and decades of real use. This is a movement designed to be lived with, not protected. What truly earns the Daytona its #1 spot is relevance. It works with everything, formal or casual, daily wear or special moments. It's respected by collectors, recognized by the public, and trusted by those who actually wear their watches. This isn't a watch you outgrow. It isn't a watch you replace. It's the watch that stays when everything else becomes optional. That's why the Rolex Daytona isn't just #1 on this list. It's the most honest answer to the question, if you could only buy one watch in 2026, which would it be? And for me, that answer remains clear. So those are the watches I'm buying in 2026. Not because they're trending, not because they're hard to get, and definitely not because someone told me to buy them. Each watch on this list represents a different stage of the journey: learning, refining, letting go of noise, and finally choosing what truly matters. Because real collecting isn't about having everything. It's about knowing what's enough. Trends will change, prices will move, opinions will come and go. But great watches, the ones built with purpose, proportion, and integrity, they stay. If this list made you think differently about collecting, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who truly loves watches, and subscribe to the channel. Because here we don't chase hype, we chase meaning. And remember, you don't collect watches to impress others. You collect them to mark time in your own way. See you in the next one.